Once again, want to thank our fans. Another unbelievable environment, another sellout. Our guys talked about in the huddle after shoot-around today. I kind of let them talk because they hear me talk enough. And I said, what do you guys got? And, Keyshawn Hall and KO said, we got to do this for our fans because, they continue to show up. Even though we've had a couple of tough results on the road, they continue to just support our team. And, they recognize that and they appreciate that. And, they came out and gave, our fan base their best effort and obviously, a phenomenal result. I thought our guys did a really good job of just executing the game plan and some of the things that we really talked about being important. And, a couple of those things would be, transition defense was going to be really important. They averaged 25 points in transition a game, and they only had 13 tonight, so we were able to almost cut that in half, which is such a significant thing to do against such a great offensive team. We limited our live ball turnovers. We had 2 sloppy ones in the first half, but to only have 10 turnovers and 20 assists, 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio against that team is really good. But I thought our defense just really answered the bell in this game. That was probably the best we've collectively played defensively against a really good team. We've done it against some lower competition, but to do it against a team, with the firepower that Arkansas has, I thought our guys did a great job in communicating their switching and making some adjustments in their ball screens. And, they were excited about, obviously playing a really good team. They got a couple guys that are going to get their name called in June in the NBA draft, and, our guys got up for that. The challenge now is, we got to do that every night. Because you've seen what it looks like when you don't do it. You lose to Georgia in overtime and you lose to A&M at home. We just got to continue to build off of that. But I thought, after Tuesday night, lesser teams would have kind of continued to harp on that and let that affect their performance and get too low. Well, we got to do the same thing after tonight. Like, we beat a top 15 team. We can't let that get us too high now. Like, we felt like we should win the game playing them at home. Obviously I have a ton of respect for those guys. Like, they do such a good job, and Cal's done a great job with this group, and they're going to win a lot of games this year. But we can't let that one result, make us feel like we've done something because, we're still 1-2 in conference, and we still got some ground we got to make up. So just got to stay locked in and just continue to work to get better. But, I'm proud of the guys because, since the Queens game, we've had a lot of really good practices. And, it showed tonight. So excited about the result, happy with the result. Take any questions.
20 assists for y'all, only 10 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot about the assist to turnover ratio. Just the ball movement, was that like the best you've seen it this season? And kind of what was the key to making that happen?
Yeah, against a really good team, probably one of the better ones we've done offensively. Tahad, but when your 2 best players have 12 assists, that makes a difference. They are willing passers, but they're very capable passers. And Tahad did a really good job. After he recognized that they were putting 2 on the ball and trying to get it out of his hands. He didn't just receive the trap; he attacked the trap, and then our guys did a better job in the first half of being receivers. Then once we were able to get off the ball, we were able to attack them because we had them kind of spread out. And this team is a team that's got guys that can really get downhill and get to the rim. You look at Sebastian, Tahad, KO, Key, Elijah, all guys that can get past their man one-on-one. So once he was able to get off it, a lot of really good things happened, and did a good job of knocking down open shots. We attacked the paint. Outscored them 48-28 in the paint. So we did a good job of just attacking the rim, playing off 2 feet, using shot fakes. They only had 3 block shots, and that's a really good shot blocking team. So we just did a good job of just executing the game plan. We were aggressive in transition, but then when we didn't have anything in transition, we talked about wanting to pull it out and run offense because, we can't have any middle offense against Arkansas. And we were trying to keep this game below 73 possessions. I don't know what it ended up being. But that's, obviously something that we focused on, and, it was productive.
Stephen, I asked you on Tuesday after Tahad didn't start for the second game in a row what you were looking for. You said to handle stuff off the floor. He was back in the starting lineup tonight. What is it that made the difference from then and now, and also Caden not having any minutes tonight?
Yeah, it's more about, for us, like, guys we have an issue with guys being on time. And, I've told the guys before the Queens game, after Purdue, sorry, so that would have been before the Queens game. If you're late to something, you're not going to start. If you're coming off the bench and you're late to something, you're going to miss a rotation. So that it's as simple as that, and that's kind of where we as a program have got to continue to get better, and we got to be a little more responsible, and that was the result of that tonight. So, but on the flip side, like really happy for Blake. Blake is a guy that in practice is one of our best players, and people on Twitter can go crazy when he gets in the games, but like if you come to practice, and some of you do, you watch how he is in practice. He's our best defender. Ask Ferg. Like, he sees it. Ask Hope. They see it. Like, he makes shots, and it pisses me off because, like, we'll, like, play great defense for an entire possession, and then Blake will hit, like, a step-back three. I'm like, dude, why don't you do this in the game? Like, he can drive by his man, and you saw tonight what he's capable of. So, in 10 minutes, he's +8. But, he had that bad stretch at the end, so he was +12 going into the last minute of the game. So, he did a great job of getting us into our offense. He didn't turn the ball over. He got a steal. He fouls more than I did when I was in college, which is hard to do. But I love his aggressiveness. He does all the right things, and I'm happy for him.
Nathan.
Steven, I know you've been pleased with how you guys were rebounding the ball. How much of a difference did that make? And I think you guys are +30 now in 3 SEC games on the board. Just how much of a difference has that made?
Yeah, I mean, it just gives you an opportunity to win the game. They had 33 missed shots, and they only got 8 of them back. So that's, for a team that we thought was a really good offensive rebounding team, that's significant, and that's, important, and it's, something that, we just got to continue to do because we're not huge on the inside, but we're a really good offensive rebounding team, and if we put bodies on bodies and we're able to check out, we can be a pretty good rebounding team. Now, we're about to play some really good rebounding teams moving forward. Missouri's huge, and they crash the offensive glass like crazy, so it's going to require some more step up moving forward. But so far through the first 3 results, very pleased with our rebounding.
Steven, Coach Cal said this is a big-time win for you, and he wants you to do well because he also has a son coaching. A little bit extra meaningful to get your first SEC win against a guy of his caliber, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, like, Coach Ian Borders had the scout, and Coach Corey Williams had the scout. So, they did a phenomenal job in our preparation. Ian specifically is a Louisville boy. And, he obviously has watched, Pitino and Cal specifically for a very long time. And he had the St. John's, he and Corey had the St. John's and the Arkansas scouts. So, obviously happy for that, for Ian specifically, because this was a really important game for him because he's always just had such an admiration for Cal and everything that he's done. For me personally, like, obviously it's more about the program for me. Like, this team has beaten 3 Hall of Fame coaches, this year with Coach Altman, Coach Pitino, and now Coach Cal. Just have always had so much respect for the job that he's done. He doesn't get enough credit for how good of a coach he is, X's and O's wise. Everybody talks about how he has such great players. Like, there's a lot of teams that have great players and they run shitty offense. Like, he does a good job of putting his guys in a position to be successful. And that's why they've been so good. And I really like his group this year. He's got 8 really good players. And just wasn't their night tonight. I thought our switching bothered him. And, Brad's is such, he's going to be a great coach one day as well. So he's learning from, he's similar to me, like just learning from, such an unbelievable coach and learning from one of the best. So, I mean, we had to get that win. It didn't matter who it was against. We had to win that one because, you can't dig yourself into 0-3 hole in this conference and, expect to have, any real success. So really important win, and obviously against a top 15 opponent and a really good Arkansas team.
We'll take 2 more.
Key was the first Auburn player to have back-to-back 30-point games in 32 years.
Yep.
Really missed a shot tonight. Just kind of what was the key to him to be so successful against this defense? I know he can score against anybody, but this felt a little bit different.
I mean, I don't know. He's been doing this all year, so he doesn't get recognized or talked about enough. Like, his offense has been his offense all year. Obviously, making 4 out of 5 threes, impacts that a little bit. I'm more pleased with his defense. Like, he had 2 block shots tonight, and I'm going to watch the film, but, like, every time there was penetration and he rotated over, he did such a good job of walling up and just getting vertical and not slapping down. That's something that he's really struggled with because he always rotates, he gets there, and then he slaps down and draws a silly foul. Tonight, he had 3 fouls, but, like, he had 2 block shots, and I thought he had a lot of really good collisions at the rim where we made them miss tough contested twos. And that's just what he's wanted to do. He wants to come here to become a better defender, and I think he's starting to do that. So, offensively, that's just who he is. And the way Arkansas guarded allowed us to play a little more space. We spread him out a little bit, and we were able to attack one-on-one closeouts and play off 2 feet. And he's such a talented scorer, and he can just do it in a number of different ways.
Last one.
Elijah Freeman finished the game plus 26. How much growth have you seen from him since he got on campus, really, but specifically within the past couple of games since he started coming off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in his last 5, I think he's averaging like 14 or so coming off the bench. And, tonight, 3 assists, no turnovers. I don't love all the east-west dribbling he did tonight. Like, he's such an explosive player. I would like for him to go north and south more as opposed to side to side, because really good teams are going to strip and rip that. And it looked like a million times they were going to come get steals. But he's so talented, and I thought he was really good defensively tonight. Had 6 rebounds. He just does a little bit of everything. And for me, Taylor, you're right. Like, the growth and the improvement that he's shown, but for me, the unselfishness that he's shown. Like, he recognized that Sebastian would probably be better in that starting lineup, and he came into my office and volunteered to come off the bench. And it's helped him play better, and it's helped us give a spark off the bench. So, he's just a guy that's just going to continue to, be so effective in games. And, when he's out there doing the things that he's really good at, plus 26 just kind of proves that right there. So, he played more like the minutes that we want him to play. We need him to be in that 25 to 28 range in order for us to have, a chance to be the best version of ourselves. So, really proud of Elijah. I need him to, do it on the road against another really good team on Wednesday.